Hi, everybody. Dan Illman, Mike Beer, taking a look at the feature race at Aqueduct on Saturday. One-turn mile for fillies and mares. Here's the Heavenly Prize Invitational. $150,000 is the purse. Saddle Up Jessie, Mike, is going to be a big favorite in this race. She ran great last time out in the ladies. Maybe she hung a little bit. Maybe that horse that beat her comparative is really good.
Yeah, I don't think I want to say that she hung, especially now the comparative has come back to run again. That it just seems like comparative's that kind of horse who's going to fight you tooth and nail. It was a good performance in her New York debut. Don't mind her cutting back a little bit for this race. Boy, I don't often take 8-5. I think I take 8-5 here.
She might have to work against an odd pace scenario, however. We throw up the Timeform US pace projector. No speed. It's the dreaded gray bar. Now, the good news for a horse like Saddle Up Jessie is I think she's tactical enough to adapt to the pace, as she did 2 starts back in a paceless carousel at Laurel Park. But this gives Portage an advantage, Mike, because the last time this horse went sprint to route, pace pressing winner, and might get to the front with no opposition here.
That's possible. This horse obviously doesn't have sprint speed, so getting out to a mile helps this horse. But I'll be honest, that I don't see her, getting loose in this race. That to me, there's no way. If this pace is really slow, there's no way that the favorite isn't sitting right on top of it.
Cairo Sugar is the #1 going out for the underrated Jorge Abreu. This horse was third against New York breds last time out in the Bay Ridge, going a one-turn mile over a muddy track. She's pretty consistent. She has done well in the past over this surface, and she's the kind of horse that can get close to the pace. She probably needs a career best from a buyer's standpoint to threaten the favorite if the favorite shows up, but I can see her maybe cracking the board at a price.
Yeah, I won't argue with that. There could be a good trip coming for her. She's probably underrated, but this is still a pretty tough spot for her. She is a stakes winner against New York breds over course and distance here last February, but she got loose on the lead that day as the longest shot on the board.
Pretty Extreme is going to be stepping up in class. Claimed out of her most recent start, a $32,000 seller going a one-turn mile. She looked pretty good winning this race at odds on. This is a world different from a class standpoint, however. First for Oscar Barrera III.
Yeah, I mean, listen, it might not turn out to be a bad claim for these connections, but they've gotten pretty ambitious with her here for her first start off the claim. They're going to move her up into a race where it just feels like she's in over her head. She's got that one figure back at Saratoga off the layoff in July. She ran well that day, blowing out 32 claimers. That race would give her a chance, I guess.
Portage is at the board in what, 5 of 7 her last 5 starts, including a third-place effort, turning back into an open second-level allowance going 3/4 of a mile. This is a horse that has more speed than this. She just didn't get out to a very good start. She fell far behind, and it's tough to make up this sort of ground. She did okay to run third.
Yeah, it just wasn't sharp off the layoff here. Got totally outrun sprinting. It makes up a little ground at the end. Maybe it's just a perfect prep for her, Dan. Now the question is this the right spot for her? Is she a stakes horse? And can she beat a field like this one, or a horse, let's say, like Saddle Up Jessie, who feels like she's in good form? I mean, her mile races are good. I don't think they're great. Maybe she gets a really nice trip in this race and takes another step forward. I think she has to.
But even though she's a 5-year-old, she's relatively lightly raced. Maybe we haven't seen her best. I think she will be better going a mile, and she'll likely be at least up close to that expected moderate pace. Lady Brew is up next. She was no match for Saddle Up Jessie in the carousel last time out at Laurel, and to be perfectly honest, I just didn't see an excuse.
Yeah, me either. It makes it hard to like her back in this spot. Although I just think it's interesting that they're going to stick with dirt for now, Dan, because she's got that kind of pedigree where it feels to me like maybe she can really handle dirt. And if she takes to it a little bit better this time, she gets to go a little shorter in this race. It's a one-turn race that could make it. I mean, all these things sort of conspire to make her at least a little bit interesting at a price in this race, and there aren't that many interesting prices in here.
And this barn has had success over the last several years, taking horses from Woodbine over the winter and bringing them to the Mid-Atlantic, whether it's Penn National or Laurel, and doing very well. And they got Lady Brew to get a stakes placing in her first dirt start. Into Happiness is up next. This horse was 4th last time out in a second-level allowance race. That Just Catherine just seems to show up in those allowance races. However, she doesn't show up in the stakes races that much, but she was pretty good that day. And Into Happiness, I don't think cared for the wet track.
She probably didn't. They also tried a different running style with her that day and put her like right up close to the pace, going a longer distance. She didn't run well in there. Her better races from the summer and into the fall there, when they just took her back and made one run, and it sort of worked out for them. Even as I say that, though, 2 starts back when she got up for second behind comparative, she was a suck-up second that day, man. She didn't do a ton of running.
And the problem is, considering this pace scenario, if they decide to take her back to her preferred running style, will she
Right.
be really up against it if they go slow? In all probability, yes. Movie Moxie is up next. She was fourth last time. She was in against a really nice horse. That Hot Fudge did some good things over the fall and into the winter. Movie Moxie was able to show some tactical speed that day. A mile is good for her. She could be up close to this slow pace.
Yeah, I think there's a good trip coming for her. I think she's a little dangerous in this race, Dan, because the most recent start, which wasn't a good one, it was off of the layoff, and she just looked like she really needed it. She got up close to Hot Fudge on the lead, but she got really tired through the stretch. I think she really needed that race, and she obviously has some faster ones from earlier last year to get back to.
Saddle of Jessie, the number 7, went through the auction ring after this race, the ladies' stakes. She failed to meet her reserve, so she's back with Brittany Russell for another year of racing. She has a very good turn of foot, and she made a 3-wide bid on the turn, and it looked like she was going to win pretty easily. She had Comparative under a full-out drive, and Comparative is just a tough nut, especially at a mile and an eighth, and maybe that worked against Saddle Up Jessie a little bit also. I like her cutting back in distance to the mile, and if she runs this race against this group, she probably wins.
Yeah, that's how I looked at it too. I mean, she runs fine in here. It's a little bit of a disappointing loss, especially if you bet her. But then again, Comparative comes out of this race. She wins a grade 3 at Oaklawn with another performance just like that one, Dan. She was in a dogfight through the stretch. She's headed. She fights back and she wins. I thought Satellite Jessie, in retrospect, ran really well in that race. She just happened not to win.
Now, maybe second level allowances don't fit around this time of year in New York, but I think John Terranova is showing a lot of confidence in the number 8 Spiked in running her a mile against stakes horses in her first start off of a very long layoff, because this mare, Mike, showed some ability last year. Now, this is her most recent start. You got to go all the way back to April. She's down about 2 lengths here at about the 8th pole, and she gets it done.
Yeah, this is a good performance. I mean, it was a step in the right direction too. It's unfortunate for her that she didn't get to start again after this. Now, her better races have come going longer, so maybe that's a little bit of an issue for her. And obviously, all with this kind of a layoff in this spot, Dan, she's going to have to be fully cranked up if she's going to win here. I still think she's pretty interesting at a price.
I think she'll show some fresh speed as well, breaking from the outside and here, and shouldn't be too far away when the real racing commences. Let's take a look at our top pick for the Heavenly Prize. Saddle Up Jessie on form just looks tough. I know you hate to take the favorite in these sort of races, but she has the ability to stay close to the pace, and her usual race is going to make her real tough.
Yeah, it's just a really good spot for her. And I personally don't think she's going to be compromised if this pace is slow.
You're going 7.864. I'm going 7.836. We'll see if Timeform US is right and that Portage can get to the front in a race with no speed. But Saddle Up Jessie, the horse to beat at the Big A on Saturday. Best of luck.